Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the Siley Stats YouTube channel. Now, today, as you can see, we have a lot to get to and also a lot of changes to our top 20 here. So we will get to all of that in due time. We're going to start, though, we're going to start with our random team shout out. So, congratulations to Mercer Island from Washington for being the Washington State champion in air trajectory. Congrats, Mercer Island. Now, let's get into some of these results. So, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go through these state results, and a lot of these changes were made based on the state results. So, I will inform you of those once we get to their respective state. Those that were not, I'll cover at the end. So, we're going to talk about some changes to this Pennsylvania Regionals um, compilation of the regional results. So I talked about this a few videos ago, maybe 2 or 3 videos ago. Basically, some of these events are run differently or are scored inconsistently between regions. So, what the lovely creator of this document did was they took Sentient Tree's rankings of each of these teams in each of the events that are run inconsistently between regions, and they used those instead of the raw scores from regionals. So, still a little bit inaccurate, I would say. But it's not going to be perfect, right? This wasn't like the actual state competition. This is just our best approximation of what the state competition might have looked like had regionals been states. So when you do that, Cumberland Valley actually moves ahead of Lower Marion in these results. Now, you may have noticed that I did not put Cumberland Valley in instead of Lower Marion. In fact, Lower Marion moved up. We'll get to that in a minute. And that is because Lower Marion, we have some very direct, very clear evidence here at Soup that Lower Marion vastly outperformed Cumberland Valley here. So I am going to stick with that direct, obvious evidence to keep Lower Marion ahead of Cumberland Valley for now. But I mean, we've been saying it all year, right? Pennsylvania is going to be close. Pennsylvania is always close, especially between those second and third place teams. So really, this matchup could go either way. But I'm still going to pick Lower Marion because of that direct evidence. However, considering the regional evidence here and the fact that this has been a bit of a year for upsets, we'll talk about some more of those in just a minute here. I could very easily see a scenario where Cumberland Valley outperforms Lower Marion and takes second. To be clear, I don't think it's very likely that either of these teams outperform Harriton. I think Harriton is still the clear favorite to be the state champion. And if they, for some reason, are not, that would be quite the news to me. But yeah, I don't think that's very likely. So Harriton's still an obvious front runner. Lower Marion and Cumberland Valley very closely matched for second and third place. Next, we're going to move on to, I believe I actually missed these state results in my last video. West Virginia, obviously not a very impactful state on the national scene, but regardless, we will talk about their state results here real quick. So, congratulations to Morgantown for being the West Virginia state champion yet again. Not sure how long they've been the state champion, at least since last year, I know. I recognize this team. I predicted them to win. They did indeed win. This is not an upset. So congratulations to Morgantown. You will be going to nationals. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to talk about for West Virginia. I don't have. Oh, whoopsies. There we go. I don't have the raw scores for West Virginia yet, so we're just stuck with the rankings. But we're going to move on here to Nevada. So Nevada had their state competition a while ago, but we did not have results until very recently. So, as you can see, very, very close here between these two teams. Edward Clark and Advanced Technical Academy. But Edward Clark did manage to pull it out. So not, congratulations to Edward Clark for being the Nevada State champion once again. I think going into this competition, I predicted the Davidson Academy would actually get second. I only, am taking into account the rankings here for the any teams attending nationals, so that's why this is highlighted in blue. But yeah, the Davidson Academy and Edward Clark were pretty closely matched at some invitationals. Obviously, not so much here at States though. All right, so now we're going to move on to some more interesting results. So Washington. Now this is indeed an upset. So Tesla STEM. Let's see if I wrote it here. Tesla STEM has been the state champion ever since 2022. So again, not really a long-running state champion, but they were certainly establishing themselves as a very strong state contender there. And Bothell has upset Tesla STEM and is now the new state champion. So congratulations to Bothell. Yeah, so the year of upsets continues. But Bothell, I believe, has gone to nationals. This won't be their first time. They were still a pretty serious contender within Washington, regardless of if they beat Tesla STEM or not. So again, congratulations to Bothell for being the Washington state champion. All right, so now we're going to get on to some bigger states. So, West Virginia, Nevada, Washington, not really competitive states on the national scene. Now we're going to talk about Illinois. So, Illinois, once I find it, here we go. Really, there's nothing super surprising here, at least not on the surface. New Trier beat Stevenson. That is indeed what I expected. And Stevenson, of course, takes the second place. So these two teams will be Illinois' national teams. I do have a little bit more to say about this, though. So we're going to take a look at the full results here in a minute. I'm going to read this first, though. Stevenson and New Trier both bombed 2 events, and the gap between Stevenson and University of Chicago Laboratory, I believe, was insignificant because, that's Texas. Because if you exclude Whitty, they tie, and UCLS actually wins this tie. So I'm going to show you guys this here. So if we exclude Right It Do It, Stevenson and UCLS tie. And because UCLS won more first places than Stevenson did, Stevenson only won one state championship in an event. They would actually win the tiebreaker, assuming Illinois uses the traditional tiebreaker. So, overall, not a significant gap here between Stevenson and UCLS. But regardless, Stevenson did manage to outperform UCLS overall. It's a good thing for Stevenson that Right It Do It was not excluded. Congratulations to Stevenson and New Trier, and now is as good a time as any to discuss the rankings here for these two teams. So let's talk about New Trier. I moved them up. They were actually in 17th. I moved them up quite a bit. Part of that is LASA coming in here. We'll talk about that momentarily. Excuse me. Part of that is they did okay at states. I'm not going to say they did amazing. This team score isn't really anything to write home about, but they did pretty decently actually in all events except electric vehicle that they'll need to fix if they want to go any higher on the national spectrum. But pretty decent performance for New Trier at states. And Stevenson, meanwhile, I would call this much worse than expected at states. I expected these two teams to be a little bit closer, maybe, 5-10 points separating them. Instead, this looks more like a 20-21 point gap. So, much further apart than I expected. Thus, I updated the rankings as such. Yes, so we're going to move on now to talk about South California. So, South California, if you'll remember in my last video, I mentioned that their state results were out, but I was going to wait to cover them with Texas and Illinois. And I'm glad I did because there's a decent bit to talk about here. Excuse me. So, South California, Troy did indeed win. That's pretty expected. Pretty easy prediction there. But they didn't really have the team score that I would have expected. And yes, California is very competitive. But I mean, if you're the national champion, if I'm predicting you to be the national champion, you should have a better state score than this, I think. Um, so maybe one of the first things you'll notice the second I started the video was that we do have a change in the national predicted national champion, and that is I moved Mason up and I moved Troy down. So I'll explain this a little bit more in detail here. So yeah, like I said, they didn't have a super great performance at states, nothing terrible, but um, really, I think they bombed some events too. Yeah, they bombed chemistry lab, and I would even consider entomology a bomb here too. So again, the national champion really shouldn't be bombing events at states. Um, and also, if really the main thing that was making me put Troy at the top spot was MIT. So, I mean, if we look at MIT, you can see. Oh, whoops. Why did that not copy? There we go. Um, there we go. If we look at MIT, you can see Troy, yes, did indeed get first, but the margin isn't significant at all. You could almost exclude any event that Mason lost to Troy in, and Mason would pull ahead. In fact, some events they would pull drastically ahead. Um, so yes, I put Mason ahead just barely. Also, MIT was the last invitational that Troy's ever attended this season, at least that I have on here. There might be some that aren't on Duosmium, but invitationals that I can see, MIT was the last one that Troy attended, which I mean might make them a little bit out of practice since MIT that was how many months ago was that 4 months ago. Um, your last competition experience, that I should say last really competitive competition experience was 4 months ago. Yeah, if I'm predicting you to be the national champion, you should be at least attending one invitational every month, and Troy has simply not been doing that. Still a very, very strong team could still easily take the top spot at nationals, but I think right now, at least until Ohio State's come out, I will be putting Mason ahead of Troy. Yeah, we'll see how Mason and Solon do at Ohio State's. If Solon beats Mason, obviously I'll have to change some things up here. But yeah, for now, we'll put Troy down in second and Mason up in first. So now, finally, let's talk about the big one, Texas. So Texas last year was, I think, probably the most interesting state results. And just to remind you guys, yeah, I wasn't quite as organized with color coding last year, but in Texas, Seven Lakes and William P. Clements managed to take the first and second spots. I predicted Jordan would be the second place team in Texas, and they lost to Clements by a tiebreaker. Um, and not just any tiebreaker. Texas, their priority tiebreaker was different than the standard of what I just said, which is number of first places. Jordan actually got more first places than Clements, but they still lost their tiebreaker. I forget exactly what their tiebreaker was that they used. But yeah, Clements managed to pull ahead when that happened. Um, and I think going into Texas State's, so here actually, I predicted Clements would get fourth. So quite the change up here. And then this year, we also have some changes. So it's actually the Liberal Art and Science Academy that managed to take first place. So congratulations, LASA. And Seven Lakes, congratulations for making it to nationals. But I mean, I predicted Seven Lakes would get first here. And if we look at their the history this season, there we go. You can see, I mean, seventh place at MIT, very strong performance there. Here, they're beaten out by Jordan there. Um, but here, I mean, outperforming Monte Vista, Marquette, Nutrier, and yeah, LASA. So that was quite a while ago. So let's try and get some more recent tournament results here. Um, Here at Golden Gate, again, outperforming LASA, not by a super big margin, I guess, but I'd imagine that margin's pretty significant. Um, and let's see. Yeah, so then MIT as well. So, yeah, I mean, consistently, Seven Lakes has managed to outperform LASA this year. I guess they just let their guard down at states here. They came in confident they would get first, and LASA managed to pull ahead just barely. I mean, obviously, this gap isn't significant. If we take a look at the full results here, um, if you exclude, looks like if you exclude material science, maybe, and definitely wind power as well, robot tour, Seven Lakes would pull ahead of LASA. But obviously, that's not how Science Olympiad works. You can't just exclude events you've bombed. So yeah, LASA managing to take it from Seven Lakes. And we talked a little bit about Jordan, but I want to talk about them some more. So this year, like last year, I predicted Jordan would get second. And this year, like last year, Jordan narrowly lost to the second place team. This time by a little more than a tiebreaker, obviously, but still not a significant gap there. Again, I mean, if we exclude forensics, or I think there's probably another event here. Yeah, microbe mission. Um, Jordan would pull ahead of Seven Lakes. So not a significant gap there either. And also something funny I noticed was there's a 4 point gap between LASA and Seven Lakes, and a 4 point gap between Seven Lakes and Jordan. So yeah, pretty consistent there. Something I didn't look at was if there's a significant gap between LASA and Jordan. Um, it looks like there is. I don't think I can exclude a single event here to get Jordan to beat LASA. I don't think I can do that. Um, you would have to exclude two events, which arguably is still an insignificant gap. But usually, how I do it is if you can exclude one event and whatever Team X pulls ahead of Team Y, then it's an insignificant gap. Also, something interesting to note here is that it looks like Texas might be switching to a system similar to Wisconsin, where they have a bunch of events that aren't on the national scene. Um, and those events can count towards your team score, but teams have the option to exclude any five events from their team score at any competition in Texas. So it looks like that's kind of what they're switching to. um, I might be wrong about that. Maybe these are just trial. Although, I mean, things like chemistry lab are excluded, and geomapping, which are events on the national scene, but LASA chose to exclude them. So yeah, it does look like that's what Texas is doing here. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think there's anything else here to say. And then you have Clements down here. Um, Actually, if you exclude air trajectory, let's see. Clements bombed air trajectory pretty hard there. Yeah, not even that's enough to get them to pull ahead of Jordan. Um, yeah, that really is their big stain on their resume here. The rest of this looks pretty good, but yeah. So Clements, pretty large gap there. And I would say that is significant, even though air trajectory is their obvious weak point. Um, all right. So, with all that said, let's talk about the ranking changes. So, we'll start with these Texas teams. Yeah, Seven Lakes. I mean, they lost at states. They didn't retain their state champion status. So obviously, I'm going to move them down. And honestly, I might be being a little too generous here. I only moved them down one spot, despite losing to LASA, who, again, arguably, I mean, since they beat Seven Lakes, they should be much higher. But I think first of all, like I said, the gap at states is not significant. Second, if you look at more broadly at their record this season, again, I kind of just showed it to you, but I mean, here at MIT, this is a perfect example. Seven Lakes massively outperforms LASA. And I think there's another good example of that somewhere here. Yeah, Rickards again. Seven Lakes, not quite as massive of a difference there, but again, Rickards was quite a while ago, though. And here, Kurdso. So I still haven't figured out how to add this. I know I've mentioned a couple videos about how I would um, be looking for a way to do that. Um, I mean, yeah, you can see how maddening this would be to add. But yeah, LASA, pretty strong performance here. Obviously, Seven Lakes not here, but I mean, they beat Thomas Jefferson, they beat Acton Boxborough, who unfortunately is not attending nationals. They beat Michigan Troy, who I'm predicting to attend nationals, but could very well, and honestly, probably am likely wrong about, considering my prediction history in the state competitions here. Beat Castro Valley, pretty strong team from California. So, I mean, pretty decent performance here. But really against some like very strong teams that are attending nationals. Beating Acton Boxborough is probably their biggest achievement here. And Thomas Jefferson beating Acton Boxborough too is pretty noteworthy. Very small margins here. I imagine these gaps aren't very significant. But so arguably, I mean, beating Acton Boxborough, when I was predicting Acton to attend nationals, I had them in a sixth or seventh, I forget. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe LASA deserves to go in the top 10. Who knows? But I just think they've been a little bit inconsistent this season. Their MIT rankings really dragging them down. And honestly, Kurdso is one of their only very strong invitational performances. So I think 15th is fair here. And then all of these teams, of course, move ahead of LASA because I had Jordan in 12th, I think. Yeah. So the second team in Texas, or first team in Texas, however you want to put it, one of the Texas teams moving down from 12th to 15th obviously makes all of these teams move ahead by proxy. Next, so Thomas Jefferson, I just said, did very well at Kurdso. They, like I said, their main competition was beating Acton Boxborough, which of course they did. Acton Boxborough, not attending nationals, but still a very strong team. So very noteworthy that they beat them. I don't know. I might put Thomas Jefferson ahead of Stuyvesant and Syosset. I know for the longest time I was saying how I need direct evidence that Thomas Jefferson is really all that. Like they had a ridiculously strong performance here at Cornell, but I mean that was basically the beginning of the season, right? And here at Kurdso, this is really their only other competitive invitational they've attended. And again, granted, they've done well at both of these competitive invitationals. So I don't know. I'll think about this a little more. I might put Thomas Jefferson ahead of these New York teams. Maybe, well, probably not ahead of LASA since they just beat them at Kurdso. Although, like I said, that gap does not look significant. Let's see. Anything else? Anything I'm missing? Lexington move ahead of Seven Lakes by proxy. Oh, Monta Vista, right. So this I should explain. So thank you to Sentient Tree for pointing this out to me. But if you look at Monta Vista's state performance, I think I was pretty lukewarm on the state performance. I was like, oh, nothing really to talk about here. Monta Vista's amazing. We all know that. But I don't think I really realized how amazing. The thing I focused on was this Castro Valley beating Mountain View and the very small gap there. But Monta Vista beating both of these very strong teams by a very large margin. Like I think Mountain View was at MIT, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and they got 8th at MIT. So I mean, Monta Vista beating them by what? They got like half their score, didn't they? Almost. Yeah, by beating them by such a large margin. I mean, if Monta Vista attended MIT, they did actually. Why am I? if Monta Vista attended MIT, ooh, can't even imagine what would happen then. Um, yeah, so I mean, obviously a very strong performance here. Still falling behind Mason and Troy. That is why I am keeping them behind Mason and Troy. Um, yeah. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, if you can't tell, I am tired and my voice is also getting tired. Anything else to talk about? I don't think so. Um, oh, yes, if you're wondering about, I mean, in my last video, I said Mason and Solon were basically tied. Um, and I don't know, man. I mean, these top four teams here, really, I could see these top four teams placing anywhere within the top four, other than Mason placing fourth and Solon placing first. I don't see Solon being the national champion this year. I can see them getting second, and I can see them getting very close to the national champion, but I don't see them as the national champion this year. Um, but I mean, yeah, really, these top four teams are just so good, and they're all super competitive and very close to each other. It's really hard for me to predict who's going to land where. For now, this is my prediction, but like I said, depending on how Ohio States go, that could very easily change. I guess we'll also take a quick look ahead. So we don't have any state competitions this weekend. We do have quite a few next weekend. We have seven and some very, very competitive ones: Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and North Carolina. Yeah, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan are really the three main ones. PA and Michigan, I'm really curious to see, who wins out and who loses, because both those states have more than two very competitive teams. Ohio, I'm curious to see who triumphs, Solon or Mason. And North Carolina is just a very competitive state, and I'm curious to see if Enloe will do very well there. Yeah, so for anyone attending the Pennsylvania State Tournament, I will be there. I'll be with my team and helping out with, I believe, Entomology Division B. So obviously, don't barge into the room to say hi to me. But if you see me walking around the hall or sitting with Cumberland Valley, make sure to come over and say hi. So yeah, that's, I think, is going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.